What's up everybody, I'm Mad.Ak.Max and welcome to my channel. So this video will be overall interesting because we will take a closer look at a kit used by one of the members of the FSB as UZO. And UZO doesn't stand for Greek alcohol, but for Upravlenie Specjalnych Operacji, which basically translates to Ministry of Special Operations or Department of Special Operations. And the Department S is also often referred to as SMERSH, but not to be confused with the actual SMERSH organization from the Soviet Union from the Second World War. Also sometimes people call it UZO C, but the C is the actual S and the Cyrillic alphabet. And most people who took a closer look at the FSB have heard and read about the poster boys Alpha and Wimple, but we will take a closer look at S, K and T, and we start today with S. And besides the 5 departments of the FSB, there's also the SV service team. Those guys basically operate all the fancy tools and toys the FSB has in its pocket. And within the FSB, those guys actually interest me right now the most, and I have to make a little bit of an announcement. If we reach 10k subscribers on YouTube, I will build this robot, which is in service with the SV right now, and we will bring some freaking chaos to the field. But now let's talk about the kit and why it's so interesting. And as always, the kit we're going to take a closer look at today is based on a picture, a reference picture. I will post that onto my Instagram and my Patreon. For my Patreons, I will post some extra reference material and some background informations. So check it out, you will be able to find the Instagram link and the Patreon down in the video description below. Not only is this kit very interesting to look at because of the FSB's UZO, but also because of the year it was used in, which is 2011. Everything around 2010 plus minus 2 years is very cool to look at because this is a transition zone in between the old school cool Defender boys and the multicam chats at around 2014 plus. So this operation was held in the September of 2011 in Dagestan. And that being said, we will start from the helmet and work our way down to the bottom. So let's begin with the helmet, which is an Elzish 2DTM Volcano. This helmet was introduced to the special forces of the FSB around 2010. The helmet comes with a visor which is capable of stopping most of the common handgun rounds in Russia, like 9x19 and 9x18, and it's also foldable and fully removable. We can also find an NVG shroud and a Picatinny on the side. On the back of the helmet we have actually very thick Kevlar neck protection, which is also capable of actually stopping, for example, 9x19. I'm also pretty sure that the neck protection is pretty much the most controversial part about this kit. Some people like it, some people hate it. I like it, I dig it a lot. I think it adds a lot to the character of this helmet. Kind of gives it, I don't know, a very distinctive and unique look. It reminds me a little bit of a samurai helmet. I also want to mention that on the original reference picture, the neck protection is actually black and the officer uses a black version. I went for the green simply because I like it a little bit more. It gives a little bit contrast to the black of the helmet, and those are the fine details I really like to play with, even though when we're doing a reference guided picture impression kit. Furthermore, for the people who are not familiar with this helmet platform, you can of course remove the Aventail on the back. It's just held by 4 little buttons. So how much do I have to pay for one of those bad boys? Well, usually they go in between 400 and 500 US dollars. But right now I wouldn't be surprised if you have to pay above 500 US dollars simply because of the war going on in the Ukraine and the crisis. Also right now Russia is keeping an eye out there of what's leaving the country, especially hard plates and helmets. Very difficult to export, maybe even impossible. And you have to find someone who is actually willing to do that because it's always connected to a little risk for those guys. And this is maybe the reason why a replica is better for you in that case. But also to be mentioned, the replicas don't come cheap. They usually run in between 200 and 300 US dollars. But they are available, and as I mentioned in videos before, I will release a gear buying tutorial which will give you guys an overview of what you can expect when you buy Russian gear, where you can find it, how much you have to pay for it, and what to look out for. And this video will also cover a little bit of replica stuff. Basically, same scheme. I will just talk about where to find it, what to look out for, and what are your best choices you can make when it comes to buying risky gear and replicas. Now I want to show you guys also something very cool about the Volcano, because this is not the only visor you can get for this helmet. Did you ever thought to yourself, man, I'd really like to break my neck? Well, you can do so with the Neck Remover 2000, which is an LZIS 2DTM Volcano heavy assault visor. That thing is incredibly heavy, weighs a freaking ton, and it is so insanely cool. The level 2 heavy assault visor is an incredibly cool piece, but it's also incredibly heavy, and this is also the main reason it hasn't seen much to any use, simply because, yeah, the weight. And because of that, it's also not possible to fold the visor of the helmet upwards, because the weight of the visor is simply too much for the little joints. They would simply break off. This is why it's designed in a way that it's only possible to mount it in a locked position. Still an incredibly cool piece. I wanted to show you guys. So yeah, here it is, the LZIS 2DTM heavy assault visor. So let's talk about the most interesting piece of equipment of this kit, which is the redut made by Ford in the Molle version. It is the rarest modification you can get for the redut, and I have to give a big shout out to one of my best friends over in Russia who helped me a lot with the informations to this piece of equipment. The Ford Redut M Molle version was actually introduced to the FSB in the year 2010, and it came in two versions, in the ripstop version for Alpha, and only CUSO received the Cordura version. And the ripstop version, which was supplied to the FSB Alpha department, was actually quite unsuccessful because of the ripstop material. It simply fell apart, and after 6 months of use it was heavily damaged. The Cordura version, on the other hand, was actually quite successful and was only supplied to the FSB as USO. This is the model we have right here. It's estimated that only 30 pieces were ever made for the FSB as USO from the Cordura material, so this piece is quite rare. The Redut M Molle version, made from Cordura for the FSB as USO, is also available in two versions. Either straight molle or cross-section molle. This, of course, as you can see, is the version with the straight molle. The Ford Redut M Molle comes with a pouch set, which includes a radio pouch, 4 magazine pouches, and a draw pouch. Also included usually are grenade pouches and a gas mask pouch. I like those two, which is actually quite annoying because the gas mask pouch is also used on the original reference, but I will give more details about that later in the video. On the backplate of the Redut we have a Camelback pectin mounted. This one holds 1.5 liters and is actually quite famous with the Russian Special Forces. And in personal opinion, I think the Ford Redut M Molle has one of the best looking back panels that are out there. One of the most distinctive features of the Ford Redut M family is the groin protection. On the original reference picture it's not used, but I went with it anyway because it's such a cool feature. It looks so cool, so distinctive for this armor, and it's completely legit for this time period, for this armor and for this unit. So those are the little details I like to play with. Like I said before, this is why I decided to use the groin protection for my impression. As you might can imagine, with a maximum of only 30 pieces ever made, this piece of equipment is seriously rare and quite expensive. But don't worry, I have alternatives. First of all, which is very astonishingly, is that this thing actually has a replica counterpart, which is made by IRT, which stands for Indonesian Reprotech, I believe. I actually owned one of those a couple of years ago. I spent around 200 bucks on it. It was okay, nothing too special, but after all, it's seriously cool to have a replica of such a unique piece available. If you are not interested in adding any replicas to your kit, we can find the alternative directly in the reference picture itself. It comes in the form of the second officer, which stands right beside the guy we are recreating. This gentleman wears a black Defender 2, which is like sand on the beach and very inexpensive. Regarding a replacement for the Ford pouch set, we can take a closer look again at the second officer, who wears an SSO Strike Omega pouch set, which was released in the year 2010. So when it comes to the clothing, we are looking at a Gorka R to be exact. The Gorka, well, everybody has heard of it, everybody has seen it. It is one of the most iconic pieces from Russia. And this is, like I said, the Gorka R. Of course, you don't have to buy this exact model. There are different versions available that are also correct for this time period. And if you want to pick one of those up, make sure that you buy one that was manufactured before the year of 2012 or 11 in this case. They usually go for nearly the same price as the new gen stuff. And the new gen stuff is, you can do it, but I'd recommend to spend a few extra bucks and a little bit of extra time to search on the internet for one and go for old gen. Sadly, it's kind of impossible to exactly pinpoint the model of gloves that were used in this reference pictures, but you can of course just go for the classic time period correct hedge gloves and Russian copies of those, like this one. And of course we also want to protect our precious knees, and for that we use the Alta Industries knee protectors. Those are quite comfortable and they come with a nifty little quick lock system. Very cool piece. Also, a distinctive item that sees a lot of use in the Russian Special Forces are the IFF bands. There is quite a number of different models in use. You can of course just go with the SSO 2nd gen, the classic ones, but like I said, many different models available. Normally I would also use the SSO Gen 2 armband, but sadly I lost mine a couple of days before I started to film.
You guys might wonder, Max, isn't that the SSO armband you are using in the beginning of the video? And yes, you guys are correct. At this point, a little shout out to my brother, who I asked a couple of times, brother, are you sure the armband isn't in the back of your car? Yes, I'm sure. Are you seriously sure? Can you look, please? Yes, okay. No, it's not there. And then we went filming. Isn't that the armband you are looking for in the back of my car? And this is the point where the film set nearly turned into a murder scene. Ich hab die noch extra 1000-mal
before I started to film this episode, so I had to use this model. Normally, like I said, I'd go also with the 2nd gen SSO armband. So finally, we reached the very bottom, the boots. I don't have them. I am pretty sure on the picture he uses crispy Sahara boots. I was not able to find them in the size that I need them. So yeah, I used my Mindels. Also, yeah, okay for this time period, but the crispy Sahara would be of course picture impression correct. Like I said, I don't have them. I'm sorry. You can look them up. They are not too difficult to find. If you guys have any further questions, please leave them down in the comments below. I will read them and I will try to answer them. Please also check out my Instagram and my Patreon. You can find the links in the video description below. Especially Patreon, it helps me so much right now. And this is the moment I want to give a gigantic shout out to my little Patreon gang. Guys, thank you so much. You just made it possible for me to buy something for my gimbal. A little bit of camera equipment basically, which yeah, helps so much with filming. Thank you guys so much. And just like that, we are done again. Thank you guys so much for watching. I seriously appreciate it. I put a lot of effort into this video as always, and I try to improve every time. And I really hope you guys can tell that. I enjoyed it. I hope you did as well. And I see you on the next video.